We are only weeks away from week one of the 2023 NFL season, and today I'm bringing you 5 breakout players that you should be drafting going into each and every one of your leagues. And let's get straight into that player. My first player on that list is Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders, wide receiver 38 on Underdog, my wide receiver 30 in my rankings currently. And look, one of the reasons why I truly believe he could be a breakout player is because I'm really excited for him and the opportunity that he's going to be stepping into this season. Let me remind you, this past year, his rookie season, by the way, he did miss 5 games this in the middle of the year. But if you look at that first 4 weeks of that season with Jahan Dotson, 12 receptions, 33 targets, over 150 yards, 4 touchdowns, averaging over 13 fantasy points per game. Now that sounds crazy. If you were to, he was on pace for almost double-digit touchdowns in that first 4 weeks of the season. Now, obviously, that is not, perfect, and extrapolation essentially is not perfect. But that is something that we need to take into account when we are drafting Jahan Dotson and how much of an impact he does make in the red zone area, and all the impact that he's going to be making in space, especially with Eric Bieniemy being the new offensive coordinator here. Now, I know there's a bunch of drama coming out of that facility, coming out of that team with Eric Bieniemy, but I truly believe Eric is trying to bring a new culture, a new presence. He's been on Super Bowl winning teams with Patrick Mahomes, and he's created this offense, or not him solely, but has led an offense and created an offense, called plays, whatever the case may be, in Kansas City. Now he wants to bring that to Washington, who has kind of been, the nicest way to say it is like the shit pile of the NFL. Right, the Washington Commanders with Dan Snyder, et cetera, et cetera. He's trying to bring something new into this organization. So I don't think there's a bunch of smoke coming out of there. But I know the next biggest question mark in this offense is Sam Howell. This past year, Sam Howell only played 1 game in Week 18 against the Dallas Cowboys, which he won against the first team defense. So keep that in mind. So there is some hope for Sam Howell and him to really distribute the ball to Terry and or Jahan Dotson, which I'm really excited for. Right, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, but when you really look at this preseason game, he was targeting Jahan Dotson. There was one drive that he went there, targeted him twice. Jahan caught both of those passes, and one of those passes was a touchdown. Now, once again, take that with a grain of salt, but I like the chemistry that they had. I like how Eric Bieniemy was using Jahan Dotson in space, getting him to do nice cross routes, nice deep cross routes, whatever the case may be. Jahan Dotson was making explosive plays in that preseason game, whether that was the second string, or whether that's going to be in the first string in week 1. Going into the season, I'm really excited for the production and the capability and the ability that Jahan Dotson can bring to my fantasy team. So once again, I truly believe Jahan Dotson could take the next step coming into the 2023 season. My wide receiver 30, the community wide receiver 39. Go out and draft Jahan Dotson as much as you can. Before I get into my second player, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out here and what we're doing. Go to flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Not only do you get our articles, our ranking, and our bonus content, you get so much more on the site. You get our rankings on the site, and my player that I'm going to be showing you next, and so much more. So let's get into my second player. It's a running back, and that is James Cook, somebody that I truly believe could break out coming into the 2023 season. According to the community right now on Underdog, he is RB28. He was my RB28. I did move him up 2 spots in my rankings. RB26 currently right now, and I do believe he could move up as we get closer and closer to the season, depending on his teammates. But yes, year 1 wasn't the best. He had a very limited efficiency, very limited opportunity this past year in his rookie season. Devin Singletary was the lead back in this offense. But when you look at the opportunity he was getting, 91 attempts on the ground, over 500 yards, barely got work in the air, finished RB44. He only got 25% snap share. But what's really interesting about James Cook is the efficiency when he actually got the ball, what he did with the opportunity when he had the ball in his hands. And that's exactly where I really want to hit on here. This past year, you can probably see it on your screen right now, first in breakaway runs, second in true yards per carry. He was averaging 5.8 yards per carry. Third in yards per touch this past year, averaging 5.8 yards per carry. Same thing in true yards per carry, and then averaging 8.6 yards per touch. That is really incredible for someone like James Cook, who a lot of people don't believe is a good running back. He's more of a pass catching back. That's what a lot of people were kind of alluding to. But in my evaluation coming out of Georgia, I really believe James Cook could be a do-it-all back. Now, did the Bills draft him for that specific reason? Honestly, don't think so, and I'm honestly not sure. But what I do know is that the PPR opportunities is going to be there for James Cook. And like I mentioned earlier, Devin Singletary was the lead back. He's no longer on this team coming into 2023. He's with the Houston Texans, but he did leave behind 52 targets this past year. There's no doubt in my mind James Cook can handle the 52 target workload and or surpass 60, 65, 70 targets. That may sound absurd, but that's the type of elite play I truly believe James Cook could bring in space as a pass catching back. Now, you're also thinking about Damian Harris. Damian Harris is on this team, and what is that going to look like? Right now, he is injured. That's what I was kind of alluding to, that my rankings could reflect on that and bring James Cook even higher. But Damian Harris is not a pass catching guy. Okay, when you look back at the history, his career high in reception is 18 in 2021, which I'm not worried about whatsoever. I know Latavius Murray is there now. I'm not worried about him. He probably has to make the team as well, so keep that in mind. I see James Cook continuing and surpassing the expectation and his ADP coming into this year. Let me remind you, he's on a high-powered offense with Josh Allen. Okay, this team has been talks to be in Super Bowl contention for the last couple of years. And when you really look at this offense, the Bills were 8th in passing per game. And when you look at when Josh Allen and how much he targets the running back, it's not about targeting the running back. It's about the check down rate that Josh Allen has. Josh Allen, it was 7th. He had the 7th highest check down rate amongst quarterbacks in 2022. Tied for 5th in check down rate over the past 2 years. As much as we see Stephon Diggs getting the ball, we saw Gabe Davis getting those bomb passes, Devin Singletary got a lot of work. Same thing now, in my opinion, coming into 2023, James Cook is going to be getting the work. So if right now James Cook is being drafted as an RB3 type of guy, sometimes even RB2, I truly believe he has that ceiling to surpass his ADP. Currently right now is RB28. So once again, his efficiency on the ground when he had the opportunity, the PPR opportunities that is coming his way, and the high-powered offense that James Cook is in. I don't understand how people are fading James Cook. Yes, you have to take preseason with a grain of salt, but we saw him in that goal line opportunity. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not 100% putting my take on that, so keep that in mind. But if Damian Harris is not healthy and Latavius Murray hypothetically does make this team, James Cook is the guy. James Cook is going to be the first, second, and third down guy, in my opinion, on this team week 1. So definitely keep that in mind. But once again, one of my breakout players coming into this year, and that is James Cook. Okay, my third breakout player that you should be drafting, that I literally have been drafting almost in every single mock draft that we have done. And you guys, if you have been with us, you guys may already know who this is. And if you are new here, please strap in, because I love this man. He is my guy. I truly believe he's going to outperform his ADP, and that is Elijah Moore. Yes, Elijah Moore, wide receiver 43 in the community, my wide receiver 28 in my rankings. That may be significantly high. That may be crazy for some people, but that's how much I believe in Elijah Moore. And let me backtrack to when Elijah Moore came into the league here. He did get drafted by the New York Jets in 2021, excuse me. And when you look at this team and his offense and what that team was doing compared to the team that he's on now with the quarterback he's with now, okay, he was drafted with Zach Wilson in that year. And there was a lot of question marks if Zach Wilson was going to be the guy, which clearly he is not now. But the quarterback carousel, he was also in that time frame, those past 2 years, Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. It just wasn't consistent. It wasn't there. And especially with all the drama that he's had, because he was upset. He is a passionate player who wants the opportunity. You drafted him with this high regard, and that didn't work out. Now the second year came around, it was like, okay, Zach Wilson taking the next step. They draft Garrett Wilson, that's great. Elijah Moore is a good wide receiver too. Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore didn't mesh well whatsoever, and I truly believe that is probably was the problem there. Now he gets traded to the Cleveland Browns. right? And when you look at this offense in the PFF passing grading offense that both of these teams have had in the past, especially with the quarterback in Deshaun Watson with the Browns, we had to take that into account. Now let's go back to the Jets passing, the PFF passing grade first. In 2021, 26th, according to PFF passing grade. In 2022, 31st PFF passing grade with this offense. That is terrible for Elijah Moore, terrible for anyone who was there. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, completely different conversation, but it's kind of tough to be amazing when you're with the Jets on a bad team. You have to be an elite wide receiver like Garrett Wilson. Okay, now we can't go to the Browns PFF grade. We had to go to the Houston Texans PFF grade, where Deshaun Watson played a full 17 games. Okay, and that last time he did that was in 2019 and in 2022. You probably see it on your screen now. In 2019, PFF passing grade 12th in the league. In 2020, 8th in the league, and that's with Deshaun Watson. We all know how good Deshaun Watson is, and that is my next point. Deshaun Watson has been a top 5 quarterback outside of his rookie year, and this past year he was with the Browns. He's always been a top 5 quarterback. He has always produced a top 5, top 12 wide receiver finish in his career as well. DeAndre Hopkins in 2018, 2019, DeAndre Hopkins wide receiver 5, 2020, Brandon Cooks wide receiver 17, and you can see weeks 1 to 12, Will Fuller before he got injured as the wide receiver 8. Elijah Moore, in my opinion, is going to be surpassing his ADP significantly. It is a massive bold take, but I truly believe Elijah Moore can finish as a top 15 wide receiver coming into the 2023 season, and you're getting him right now as a wide receiver 43 according to the community right now. Okay, the usage was so wrong with the Jets. The way they're going to be utilizing him with the Browns, we're going to be seeing a significant increase. I mean, once again, take it with a grain of salt. I am not putting my take on this, but even with the minuscule drives that we saw in preseason and how Elijah Moore was going to be utilized, it's written there all over in that drive. Genuinely, the first play for the Browns, Elijah Moore. The second play for the Browns, I'm pretty sure, Elijah Moore. He is going to be utilized in so many different ways that, please, guys, please. I mean, I'm probably going to bring 2 more videos out before the season even starts about Elijah Moore. Draft Elijah Moore. He is a breakout. He is my guy. He is a must draft coming into the 2023 season. My 4th player on my breakout list here that you should be drafting in the quarterback position is, well, a guy that I absolutely love. I kind of been raving about, been talking about. That is Kenny Pickett, quarterback 23 in the community right now. My quarterback 19. Let's just start off this past year. Okay, let's start off in the off season and what was the biggest issues for this offense, and that was the offensive line. Ranked 30th in 2022 according to PFF coming into the 2022 season. Okay, now in 2023 they drafted Broderick Jones. They arguably drafted one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. Okay, and now coming into the 2023 season, PFF has them as moving up 18 spots, being ranked 12th amongst the NFL with the offensive line position. That is a huge improvement for Kenny Pickett and what he's going to be doing. Now he's going into his 2nd year. There's no ins or outs with Mitch Trubisky or whoever the quarterback's going to be. I am not concerned about the quarterback play. He is a starting quarterback for every single game coming into this year. Going to be playing a full 17-game season, and that should be seeing a massive leap for a quarterback in year 2. Remember, he was a first-round draft pick as well. Okay, when you look at, I know I've been talking about a lot of preseason, but when you look at these players and how much of the confidence you can see, the rhythm that you see in these offense, I think it's pretty significant. And I'm not leaning on it, but I just wanted to bring it as like saying, hey, you want to build your confidence in a player, and I know it's preseason. Go check it out. Let's see how Kenny Pickett looks. Kind of like Trey Lance. You saw Trey Lance play, and it's like, whoa, he doesn't look good. Whether it's the second, third string, he doesn't look good. Now, when someone does look good against second, third, or maybe even first string, it's like, well, let's see if he can do it consistently. It's a double standard, right? Take it with a grain of salt. In that drive against the Bucks, 6 for 7, 70 yards and a touchdown on George Pickens. Looked comfortable. He looked efficient. He looked like he knew what he was doing. He took command of the offense, which I love. Once again, a year 2 leap for Kenny Pickett. But not only that, let's really talk about what's happened last year. Okay, weeks 12 to 18, he was first in PFF passing grading, which is a massive improvement from the first half of the season. He was 4th in big time throws rate. He was first in PFF deep passing grades. Kenny Pickett has the opportunity to be an elite quarterback coming into the 2023 season. Our conversations for Kenny Pickett could be in a super flex league, hypothetically, could be, a pick at the turn, middle of the second, maybe at end of the second, right? Anywhere in the second round. That's the type of conversation we could be having about Kenny Pickett going into 2024. Not only that, the supporting cast around him is phenomenal. Let's start off with the head coach position. Right, I mean the head coaching staff there is pretty phenomenal. Outside of Matt Canada, you gotta say, I mean he has to do a little bit better play calling. But the head coach Mike Tomlin, he knows how to develop quarterbacks. He knows how to play call. Right, he knows what to do. We saw with Big Ben in that scenario. Now we're gonna see it with Kenny Pickett here. Now let's go to the weapons on the field. Once again, we talked about the offensive line and how incredible that was. Deontay Johnson, who has always been a top fan, been a decent fantasy asset for us in fantasy. George Pickens, who we saw score that touchdown in preseason. A lot of people are giving a lot of hate saying he can't get separation. He is going to eat coming into this year. Allen Robinson, I know he's washed, but he's still somebody you can't sleep on. Pat Frymuth, a top 10 tight end this past year. I really believe he can finish as a top 8 tight end coming into this year with Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris. The supporting cast around him is phenomenal. There's weapons everywhere, and that's exactly what's going to be excelling Kenny Pickett coming into the 2023 season. Once again, in a Superflex league, he's a good solid QB2. In a one quarterback league, if you're doing a late quarterback strategy and you want to do one of the last picks in your draft, Kenny Pickett will be available, and you can pick up Kenny Pickett, who can easily take you, in my opinion, and be a good team. I'm not gonna say he's gonna take you to the playoffs. He's going to compete, especially in this division. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns. These teams are going to have to eat here, no doubt about it. So Kenny Pickett, my next breakout player on my list. All right, let's stay at the quarterback position. Once again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Your top 5 breakout players coming into this year. Tua Tagovailoa for me. My next quarterback in my rankings here. Not my rankings, but on this list. According to community, he's QB10. He's my QB10. I've honestly, genuinely, before I did this video, I was like, I want to move him higher. I was trying to compare him to Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I just can't. There's no way I'm doing that. There's no way in hell I'm going to put him over those guys or take him over those guys. But I truly believe coming into the 2024 season, we're going to be having the conversation of saying, damn, is it Tua or Trevor Lawrence? Is it Tua or Deshaun Watson? Is it Tua or insert quarterback that is a first-round draft pick? I get in a Superflex league specifically. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how high Tua could easily be going into the 2024 year. But before we get into it, let me tell you why he's going to break out and why that is going to be the case. Okay, the concussions is a problem. I think we talk about this every single time we talk about Tua. You can't really control it. You're probably avoiding him because of that. I know concussions are a pretty serious scenario, serious situation for every quarterback, for any player. But at the moment, I'm believing in the talent. I'm believing that he's learning how to help himself and protect himself in those scenarios. But we just have to move on from that, okay? What's incredible about Tua is the efficiency in the quarterback position that he has done. He was first, second, or third in multiple categories. You can probably see this on your screen now. First in yards per attempt, first in adjusted yards per attempt, first in deep ball completions, accurate versus man, pass rating versus man, second in red zone completion, second in accuracy, red zone accuracy versus zone, third in QBR. The list goes on. Genuinely, the list goes on. That's how great Tua was last year. It was just unfortunate with the injuries and the ups and downs that he has with the concussion. The times that he was playing with concussions, that it maybe even made him hinder his gameplay. But if he doesn't do that this year, if he plays a full 17 slate game, we look at Tua this past year and saw how incredible he was. But before we get into that, let me remind you how great this team is. Tyreek Hill, Waddle, they just drafted Devon A-Chain. These are explosive. One of the fastest teams in the NFL right now. They could potentially be getting Dalvin, Kareem Hunt, whoever the case may be. This team could be getting better in the next couple of weeks. 6th in passing yards per game, 11th in passing attempts per game, 11th in points per game. Can easily improve this year, especially with this offense. But let me remind you, the first 4 weeks of the season, he was on pace for over 5,200 yards. That's the same amount of yards Patrick Mahomes made or through last year. That is crazy. The middle of the season, obviously he had concussions, but the next 4 games, weeks 7 to 10, he was going off on pace again for 5,200 yards. And you can see his stats here: over 93 attempts, or 93 passes out of 93 completions, over 113 attempts, 71.1 QBR, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, averaging 23.2 fantasy points. Tua tags can easily continue that coming into this year. Yes, concussions is a massive problem, but if you need a quarterback in a super flex league at the turn where I normally draft these players, like Tua, I think he can easily return that value for you coming into this year. So once again, Tua tags Kenny Pickett, James Cook, Jahan Dotson, and Elijah Moore, all my 5 breakout guys coming in to the 2023 season. Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your top 5 breakout players coming into this year. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh,
it's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.